I'm going to make a very short video. Try to make it under 5 minutes. It may go over 5, I don't know. But you know, I have a tendency to piss people off because I'm very simple. See, I'm not an intellectual. I remember one time somebody had said that I was, this guy is an intellectual. And I'm not an intellectual. Not by anybody's stretch of the imagination. I am a person who primarily operates on feelings. I even have to admit that. I operate on feelings and instincts and intuitions. And I remember with some movie somebody said that, like little hairs that on the back of my neck and all that sort of thing, and all that sort of thing. And I'm just on all these things that are so unscientific. I'm not anti-science. I'm just not very scientific in the way I reach a conclusion about something. And most of the time, when I reach my conclusions, I'm right. Most of the time. I'll mess up some stuff. Yeah, I make mistakes. But, I have to really trust something. I'm not that keen on trusting science 100%. Especially things that are claimed to be science or a lot of scientific stuff. And yet I depend on science. I depend so much on science and scientific discoveries. And so many people have done so many things, And I depend a lot on science, scientific discoveries. Look, I have this insulin pump right here. You can see that. I'm trying to pull it up here. You can see it's connected to me. This insulin pump, technologies involved. The company that makes this is called Medtronics. I used to work in a job actually I still work for the university, but it was one part of the university that dealt with grants. And one of the companies that gets grants is this company, Medtronics. They not get grants, they give money for grants, research on things like this. Here's what's important. What's important is this. Science is important. I love science. I've always been a person who loves science. But at the same time, I trust my instincts more than I do science. And I do believe in positive thinking. I think that positive thinking is a very good thing to have. I think it's good to have a positive attitude about life, to have a positive outlook, and to make positive affirmations. To say things like, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can accomplish this goal. I can give a lot of examples, like, how I learned Spanish or how I learned a lot of things, or traveling, especially when I going someplace far away by myself, having overcome many different obstacles. I've talked about this so much. So, I won't abandon that ideal that feelings are important, instincts are important, intuitions are important. Those things are very important to me. I'm not so much that hard on, that much into trusting science. I trust science to be science, research and everything else. I do appreciate science. I think about all of the science that went into not only this insulin pump, but on the development of insulin. I remember reading about how it was developed and how there was experiments done, and some things even almost accidental when they, for example, took a dog, like way back, this is like the 1800s, and I guess they removed the pancreas of that dog to see what effect that would have on the dog. Then they noticed that every time that dog would go and urinate somewhere, there was always a bunch of flies around that dog's urine. Normally flies might not hang around urine, but the urine had a lot of sugar in it, which meant that dog's blood sugar was going up. And that's where they began to understand the relationship between the pancreas and diabetes. This is in the 1800s, and that led to a lot of other things, which led to a better understanding of insulin and things like that. And then in 1921, I believe that's the year, when insulin was developed and used for, used in medicine. Before that time, when people were diagnosed with diabetes, generally your life expectancy was shorter than that of a person diagnosed with cancer. So, I really do appreciate science. There's no question about that. That I don't even. But you know what? I just don't trust science when it comes to my everyday decision making. The decision making process for me is not very scientific, and I'm not a scientific person. Now I'm speaking only for myself. But I strongly believe in trusting your feelings. I trust my feelings. I really do. I guess in some ways I'm kind of I guess I sound like a new age person. And people might even say, Philip, you're pretty much a new age kind of guy. You fit in right in there with all these new age people. And then I get to thinking, sometimes when people say that to me, I kind of cringe because some of those people believe things that are way off the chart. Things I don't even come close to believing. But I guess I'm one of those kind of people that's not easy to categorize. I'm a person who loves science, but I don't trust science. That's kind of a strange way of looking at it. I trust my emotions. And some people might say that I'm worshiping my emotions and I worship my feelings. And one thing I'm learning is I don't really argue with people. Each person's interpretation of me, I guess, is valid for the person who interprets me. For their own purposes, they have to categorize me and they have to classify me and they have to think of how to put me. Because what I say doesn't quite square with the way they've been taught things, the way they have been trained or conditioned to see the world. So they have a hard time with that. And that's okay, But one thing is, I do stick to what I say. I do trust my emotions. I trust my feelings. I trust my intuitions. I trust those little hairs that stand up on the back of my neck. I guess I'm kind of like this really weird woo type of person. I'm a kind of Twilight Zone kind of a guy.